Everyone ready? Hi, good evening, everyone. This is a public informational meeting. It's a pre-construction meeting for Maple Bridge, repairs to the Maplewood Avenue Bridge over the North Mill Pond. So I have several, people here with me tonight that I'd like to introduce first, and then we're gonna go through a brief presentation, and then we'll take all your questions at the end, okay? So my name is Dave DeFos, I'm project manager for the city of Portsmouth. To my right is Aaron LaChance. He's our engineer for the bridge. To his right is Mike Ferrari. He is our contractor. So we're all here. We also have a resident project representative in the audience who will take questions later if she gets asked. So, with that being said, let's just go through the presentation real quick and then we'll take the questions and then we'll take the questions off the audience that's on the Zoom call as well.
So Mike, you said you were gonna lead this for us? Okay, thanks, everyone. Aaron LaChance, Hoyle Tanner. You can tell I'm the engineer because I wore the tie. So let's, next slide, please. This is a very brief presentation. I'm thinking it's gonna be more of a discussion, and answering questions, but we'll run through the project highlights with the PowerPoint presentation here, so. We'll go over the project team and roles, look at the status of the bridge and the need for the project, the proposed work to address the condition of the bridge, and finally, questions. So the owner here is the city of Portsmouth. DPW is the project proponent. Dave mentioned he's the project manager on the city's behalf. I'm the project manager on Hoyle Tanner's behalf, also the engineer of record, and Catherine Jadovich will be in the field for the majority of construction, call it heavy part-time, maybe 30-ish hours a week, and handling all of the field-related things. The contractor for the project is Evrox Corporation out of Tilton, New Hampshire. Mike Ferrari, president, and also very much a working president, hands-on, day-to-day kind of thing. So the purpose and need, the bridge was originally constructed in 1896, and this wasn't the first bridge that existed here, and there may be some components of the former structures built into this 1896 bridge. That's a little bit unknown as far as the historic records go, but what's important is that it was repaired in 1976. There was a corrugated metal plate arch added. That arch did its job.
So that's inside, that's the actual culvert where the water goes through.
That's the interpretation, yeah.
Yes.
Non-engineer talk. So putting a metal plate inside the existing stone metal or stone arch to strengthen it in 76. That performed well for many years, but the culvert is now in serious condition or condition rating of 3. You'll note that I use the term bridge and culvert sort of interchangeably throughout. This is a bridge by all technical definitions. It's a 25-foot span. Anything over a 20-foot span is a federal definition bridge. So it truly is a bridge structure, but it's a culvert shape. So I'll use both terms interchangeably. We are proposing or putting forth a repair project at the tune of $4 million. You'd say, wow, that's a very expensive repair project. And I don't know if I'd say it's very expensive, but it's significantly less expensive than a complete replacement. It's what the city has funding available for now. We've been trying really hard to get this into the Bridge Aid program, the New Hampshire DOT Bridge Aid program, but the funding for that is many years out, 10-ish years. So this is a short to medium term repair project that we're proposing, and we'll go through the details of that now. Oh, let's back up one slide, please.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. That's scaring me and backing away from it. So just to orient the folks that maybe aren't familiar, if you're not, Maplewood Ave circled here in the aerial image. North is generally up or the riverside. So we'll talk a little bit about the different quadrants where work is being performed. Northwest is the upper left, northeast is the upper right, and so forth. So now we can move on. So why do we need to do this repair project? The existing bridge has substandard bridge rail that's mounted on rail support slabs, and those are basically very thick concrete sidewalks to the tune of 16 to 18 inches thick. So it's not just your standard 4-inch thick concrete sidewalk. Those are sloping and tilting as a result of some settlement and other things happening at the bridge that we'll talk about. The project also needs to restabilize portions of existing granite retaining walls that are bulging and having some other distresses. And then inside the bridge, to address the deteriorated corrugated metal liner that we talked about, we are going to add another liner, more high performance, more high tech, that we'll talk about as well. So a few photos.
Yeah, let's talk about what we're actually seeing in the photos. So the photo on the left is showing the subsidence that we all know about. I mean, if you travel the bridge frequently, you may notice that puddles move around on the bridge. They're not always in the same spot. That is not a good sign. Just putting that out there. The second photo is also showing some subsidence at the marks. You can see that there's some paint marks there. Catherine and I have been out there for about the last year, kind of monitoring the bridge and seeing how much it's moving around. The photo on the upper right and actually both photos on the right. So what you're looking at is the remnants of the original sewer pipe that drained the Creek neighborhood, Dennett Street. So originally when the sewage stopped flowing directly into the pond, I think the original plan was to send the sewage into the river and to get it to the Frank Jones pipe that goes underneath Deer Street. So originally, we're not quite sure what year this is. We think it's the early 20s. They rerouted the sewage from going into the pond to going into the river. So what you're looking at is the remnants of that pipe poking out through the granite retaining wall that was built quite lovely back in the day. So they kind of blasted the pipe out through the sidewall and then they infilled it with brick. So all that's basically failing at this point. And that is what is principally causing the subsidence on that quadrant of the bridge, is that the soil is kind of leaking out from where the brick repair was. And then the subsequent work back in the 70s was to actually relocate that pipe. And that pipe now goes through the culvert. And then the arch repair was to repair the damage through the beautiful granite arch that was there, that they had to blast through to get the sewer pipe through so that it would continue flowing sewage. So basically what we're looking at is a repair to the bridge to make up for the two attempts to convey sewage across the causeway structure is basically what is causing the damage. So we're attempting to repair the original structure in such a way that it'll last 10, 15, maybe a little bit longer years, basically. That's what the intent is here.
Excellent. Perfect description, Dave. Thank you. All right, so now we're looking at a few photos of inside the hydraulic opening. So we're looking at that corrugated metal liner that was installed in 1976. You can see the corrosion throughout. There's areas where that liner is completely 100% section loss or rusted all the way through and material is lost. The photo in the middle shows what Dave was describing, the sewer main that penetrates through that liner and the stone masonry behind that and the voids that exist around that. So the subsidence in the road above, we are fairly certain that is being caused by the loss of roadway backfill material down through that hole and out into the waterway. In the photo on the right shows the heavy marine growth and some of the corrosion in other spots on that liner. So picture's worth 1,000 words. There's a lot of distress happening here, and there's an urgent need to address the condition of the culvert. So how will we do that? With a geopolymer liner. And this is what I mentioned, the high performance lining material. It's applied similar to how an in-ground pool shotcrete is applied, where it's a combination of air and this geopolymer material, spray applied in several layers to the inside of a liner or a pipe. So what is a geopolymer liner? I'm going to read you a very technical definition, and then I'll kind of explain what that means. It's a mortar comprised of aluminosilicate powder with an alkali reactor to form a monolithic material polymer with ceramic properties. That's a mouthful. Basically, it's a very high performance grout material. It's monolithic, meaning it's not like concrete. It doesn't have aggregate in it. It's sort of continuous material properties throughout, and it's ceramic. So it's very hard and durable, like a ceramic plate. In the case of this project, the liner thickness is proposed at 4.5 inches thick, so 4.5 inches to all of the metal portion of that liner that we see in the existing structure. And there's a few photos here of this same product, the same repair being applied to a project in Rochester, New Hampshire in 2020. That's another Hoyle Tanner project, 4-rod road, carrying or 4-rod road over Rickers Brook. This is a very successful project done at a fraction of the cost of replacement and other repair methodologies. So with our experience on that project, we thought this is a great application on Maplewood Ave, and taking what we learned on that project and applying it with some other work that we will talk about to repair the project overall. The question that I am asked most frequently about is how are you going to do that? Anyone that's seen the tidal changes through there and the water flowing through that, it is the biggest challenge of this project. So the overall scheme is to create 2 cofferdam systems, one on the north side, one on the south, and connect, hydraulically connect the waterways between the north and south with temporary diversion pipes through those cofferdams. Those are sized at a minimum of 48 inches or pipes that provide an equivalent hydraulic performance to 2 48-inch pipes. Now, this won't convey the entire flow that the existing bridge does, but it allows enough flow such that you have connectivity for during each tide cycle and connectivity to allow North Mill Pond to drain when the freshwater inflow events occur. So you can imagine that if you just drove a cofferdam system or installed a cofferdam system on the north side, that the rest of the Piscataqua River system wouldn't know that you did that. So you could do that hypothetically, but then all the freshwater inflow that comes into North Mill Pond would be trapped. So we need a way to both connect the sort of aquatic and other aspects of North Mill Pond to marine water, and we also need to let the fresh water out. So that occurs with those twin 48-inch pipes. We've done extensive hydraulic modeling of this, very complicated 2-dimensional analyses to support this concept. It will work. We've presented this to DES. They understand it and support it. But there's a lot of folks that have a lot of questions about this, and I'm happy to answer more questions, but that's the overall concept.
So basically, you're gonna put a temporary pipe inside the existing pipe so that light can work.
Correct.
And then we're gonna take it all apart once the liner's in place.
Correct.
And how long is that gonna be
The overall project duration is 140.
inside the culvert?
Inside the culvert, in theory, the contractor has the entire construction window to work inside, which is 140 days, calendar days. We'll look at that schedule later. So short answer,
Mhm.
it's contractor dependent, and maybe we can let Mike speak to what he
Okay.
thinks.
So the other thing we're gonna do while we have the cofferdam set up is we're gonna do the wall repair where the pipe was sticking out through the wall in the photo. So we're actually gonna take that wall down to below where the damage was and then build the wall back up properly. The granite blocks that they kicked off to the side back in the 20s are still sitting down there on the shore. So we're going to pick them up and put them back into the wall. That's our plan.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. There are a couple different elements of wall work. That's the major work is in the northwest quadrant that we looked at, where that wall gets completely reconstructed down to the mud line. There's a few other areas where granite was removed previously and brick was installed as part of an anchoring system for an old tide gate system that used to be there. So we'll also take those areas of brick and remove that brick and put the granite back. So aesthetically, there will be some betterments. Those aren't such a structural concern as they are. Well, we're out here, we've got these specialized masons mobilized. Let's do some of this other cleanup work to, for the 10 or so years that this will be in service, let's make it look as nice as possible. Dave's not really concerned about that. That's sort of something I pushed a little bit, but I think I convinced him.
Yep.
All right, so the most impactful part of this project will be the roadway closure necessary to construct the project. In particular, the deep excavations necessary to replace that retaining wall or reconstruct the retaining wall in the northwest quadrant. So we're looking at a maximum roadway closure duration of 80 days. That is a continuous closure. It's not, well, we have 80 days, close it for one day, open it back up. We want to, once the bridge is closed, get in there for as long as the contractor needs, up to 80 days. And that allows for those deep excavations, some other work that can't occur with traffic because of the narrow causeway nature of the Maplewood corridor. Outside of that, or let's back up. So during the closure, there will be a detour. It's highlighted here in the image, basically via Route 1 bypass, Market Street, Russell Street, and Deer Street. Outside of that 80-day closure window, two-way traffic will be maintained.
And flaggers.
There may be times when it's a single lane of alternating traffic. That would only be during work hours. At the end of each workday, 2 lanes of traffic would be restored. You often see some projects that achieve traffic control with the use of temporary signals, which would allow the contractor to take 1 lane for the duration of the project. We looked at that here, and based on the queues or the lines of traffic that form and the adjacent intersections, it really wasn't feasible, which forced us into really needing that complete closure window. It's very important to maintain pedestrian traffic at all times because that detour route is too long for pedestrians. So we will be maintaining pedestrians at all times through the work zone. There may be different ways that happens where the pedestrian walkway gets shifted left or right, but that connectivity will be throughout the project. So a tentative construction schedule, and we're calling this tentative because even though the contractor's ready to go, our plans are designed, it's been advertised, we know what the cost is going to be, we're still waiting on the environmental permits. It's been a long process and we're at the finish line, but we can't say definitively that it's going to be this week or next week. We know it's soon. So that's the caveat with this entire schedule. We're going to say sometime in May or June, we will get those permits. As soon as we do, Mike will be at the site in Everox beginning construction. We anticipate, based on what Mike said, that bridge closure will occur very early in the project, if not, day one. After that 80-day closure period, whenever it is, the bridge will be reopened to traffic, likely in the September timeframe. Substantial completion will be in November, and for this project, that's basically everything except for final wearing course pavement and perhaps some vegetation establishment, depending on when the final plantings occur. And we do know there's some bigger tree replanting that has to happen in the spring because the city only plants those big trees in the spring timeframe. And then in June 2025, we'll come in and do final paving and project closeout. That's one of the city's best practices for these projects is that they put the binder course pavement down in the fall. They let it winter over, so any settlement that may occur can occur, and they put the wearing course pavement in at the end. So that is the overall schedule. So we can move on to the contact information. So project contacts, we hit you with this a couple times, but here's the how to get a hold of us.
And this will be up on the website. You don't have to scribble everything down.
So we ran through everyone here. What I haven't mentioned so far is that there is a project-specific website, and the link is listed there, and we will work with the city to get updates on a regular basis on construction progress. So a really quick rundown on a fairly involved and complicated repair project. Happy to answer any questions, but we got through the formal part of the presentation anyway.
Yay. Good job.
Yeah, thanks for the help.
Okay, questions? Anybody? Yes, sir.
You didn't talk about the guardrail. What about the guardrail?
He actually did say about the guardrail, but he used engineer terms, so you probably didn't realize what he was talking about. So in layman's terms, the sidewalk's getting replaced. The sidewalk is the anchor for the bridge rail. So we're gonna replace the bridge rails and the sidewalks all at the same time, so they're ADA compliant and they're up to code. That's part of this job.
Sidewalk.
It'll pretty much be exactly where it is now.
So all of the existing silver-colored aluminum bridge rail will be replaced with new black powder-coated, crash-compliant, pedestrian-compliant bridge rail.
Another question.
Okay.
What about lighting? No lighting?
We make provisions for future lighting. It's not part of this job, but we're running a conduit system through the bridge so that we can add lights pretty easily at some point, but those aren't funded yet. Yes, sir, in the back.
Concern right now for emergency vehicles from the fire station to get up to Dennett Street and that part of town. It's just a clear shot.
Yep.
Are you gonna make provisions? I know you said the bridge is gonna be somewhat closed, but it's.
It's going to be closed. Yes. No. There won't be a road there. It's at certain parts. So the fire department will have to come in through through Bartlett Street. Or through Market Street. And they're aware.
another question.
Yep.
I walk that bridge pretty much every day, and it's really ratty around there. I mean, the overgrowth, and it looks like it's really dumpy. Is that gonna be cleaned up?
A lot of that stuff has to be removed just so we can repair the bridge. So I think you're gonna be happy with the outcome once we clear the vegetation. And then there are other areas that we have to clear just so we have work zones, and those are the areas that Aaron was talking about, how we have to revegetate them next spring. That's mostly on the shoreline over by the cleaners. Yes, ma'am.
You're gonna go over the existing metal?
Yes.
And the rusty parts?
Yep.
And does that stop the rust? I mean, it doesn't seem like a very solid substrate to be putting on this ceramic finish.
So the great part, so the question was, the existing corrugated metal liner inside the culvert, are we applying the new geopolymer directly to that? And the answer is yes. There's some level of rust removal and cleaning that has to happen. But one of the great benefits of this geopolymer liner is it's tenacious in the way that it adheres or sticks to the surface it's applied to. So that all of that rust doesn't need to be completely removed. And another great benefit is that once the liner cures, it's a fully structural element. So everything, you don't need that liner anymore. So it doesn't necessarily need to stick to it because it's the structural component of the bridge now.
That's a good question.
Was.
Yes, sir.
Two questions. One is, what's the like volume of traffic on that bridge?
It's
Seems
increasing.
like a lot.
Quite
Is
a lot.
that like the primary entry into Portsmouth, and when that's diverted?
I wouldn't say it's the primary entry, but it's certainly one of the major ones. Yes.
Has that been studied, the impact would be on other, that 80 days?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why, we invested so heavily in Hodgson Way was because we knew this was coming up. So, we'll have a robust detour plan, but I mean, we're hoping that, people will use Kate Street and Hodgson Way. Because we spent a lot of money building that road so that traffic could be detoured in different directions if we needed to do things like this. So, yes, it's been studied. Eric Eby is our traffic engineer, and he has looked at the numbers, and I'm not kidding you. It's going to be a pretty rough summer to get around. But as you saw from the presentation, this is absolutely necessary. So there's really no way around it.
Second question, we live on Jackson Hill Street, which is the last street
Mhm.
where you get to the bridge.
Yep.
Where are people gonna be told to not go? I'm just hoping that not everyone's gonna be driving through Jackson Hill Street to turn around.
Well, that's a dead end. Nobody's gonna go down there. Well, yeah, sort of.
Like, where's the traffic gonna stop? Like, usually there's like for neighborhood people.
Stanton Street, right?
The signage gonna be to get people to continue on the bypass.
So what we're looking at the detour plan now. There's a comprehensive detour plan with the signs to be installed at every intersection leading up to the bridge. And looking at the advanced signage where that occurs.
Usually there's like local residents sign at certain. Does that stop?
So the road closest through traffic sign goes at Dennis Street. Yep. So beyond that, it'll be coned off, and there'll probably be a flagger there, kind of letting only people that live past that point in.
We live on Prospect Street.
Yeah.
So are people gonna go up Walker Street, go around Prospect and
They're
turn
gonna
up,
be cutting through.
cutting through to turn around?
When they get to the
Two.
sign.
No, we'll be detouring them down Dennis Street.
Except for the people who know that.
They won't be turning around because if they're coming that way, they're gonna want to try to get to downtown, and Dennis Street will be the way to get to downtown.
So I'm a resident. of the street.
Yeah.
20 miles per hour.
Yeah.
You think people are gonna be late, they're lots of detour, they're gonna,
Well,
are you gonna put up signs and remind them, there's flashers? Not that.
That'll only speed them up.
we will be monitoring the situation. We have multiple, as you know, I'm sure, we have multiple devices that we can put out and do what we can to keep traffic in check. But yes, it's gonna be a,
Cars.
yeah, it's gonna be a busy summer. And of course, the signs will be down on the highway saying, use Market Street and so we will do what we can reasonably to detour traffic so that it's not going down Dennett Street.
We do
As
have.
far as past
message
traffic.
boards too.
Right, and we'll be message boards and
Yeah.
we will have a robust package. That doesn't mean what you think is gonna happen is not gonna happen. Some of it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna lie to you, but we'll try to get all the pass-through traffic alleviated so that, and once they go through that, once people will learn, sometimes it takes people 2 or 3 times, but after that, they usually. Yes. Darn tourists.
Just a little bit more about the lighting that the gentleman talked about. Is it, are you aware that it's coming down the line or is it just out there? Is there a specific schedule for lighting the bridge?
So-
We have to wait for it to be replaced.
Lighting is not gonna be overly challenging. We are providing the conduit so that we can do it. It's just not in Mike's contract. So we need to pick a light fixture, order them and get them in. We're not talking a magnitude project that needs to be funded through the CIP or something like that. It's a smaller scale project.
It's those lights that are picked. Could have a little bit of charm. Great.
Well, I'd like to believe that I wouldn't order anything that didn't have charm.
Thank Just wanted to say.
Every winter, the inbound sidewalk plow guy has to go around that pole. So it's plow snow right there.
Yeah.
You think it'll be addressed that telephone poles, so they can get through there?
Did we deal with that?
This project is not impacting the existing utility poles, so
So the same situation is gonna happen?
it is.
Plow won't be able to get through.
It is. There is a solution there are many solutions to that, but they aren't related to the bridge necessarily.
Okay, so no. But, one of the other things we're doing is we're actually running conduit for Eversource under the bridge so that eventually those poles can come out. So we're not dropping the wires as part of this project, but we are installing the conduit so that at some point the wires can get dropped. The stuff will be inside the bridge for that to happen.
Heard there was a project to replace the whole thing, 3 culverts and expand the mooring and.
Yeah, so a permit like that usually takes 6 to 7 million decades to get. We didn't have that kind of time. So we scratched together enough funding to repair the bridge in hopes that by the time funding is actually available, we can go through a process where we design what the next bridge will be.
I have a quick question about the lining. Is that the lining is gonna make the bridge opening smaller and disrupt the flow of the North Mill Pond because it will be small and.
That is an excellent question.
That's a good one.
That is an excellent question.
How?
So, yeah, that came up in design. So actually, at the bottom of the arch structure that's there, there's concrete now that's holding up the arch. Some of that actually goes away to make up for the 4 inches of thickness for the liner. So we actually did have to make up for that. So that's very astute that you picked that up.
I have another question.
Okay?
Well, since you really know this work, I noticed that, and I know because I've been under that bridge actually with my boat many times in the past. There's only one pipe, the sewer line.
Yeah?
The city has been, on Dennett Street, for example, has been the sewer and the storm drain have been separated, so it's 2 lines, but going to the bridge is the, bottleneck, is one, so where's the other one goes? Won't be separated, then it will still.
It's, I believe, empty, across the street on Marsh Lane.
The storm drain?
The storm drain empties on Marsh Lane across the street from Dennett. So
Was Marsh Lane, you said?
Marsh Lane. Yeah. It's right downhill from Jackson Hill Street. Yeah, there's an outlet there. That's where the stormwater goes.
It was out in the nursery pond?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That the CEO or that the CEO?
No, it's stormwater only. And then the sewer,
For the air to go to,
it goes into the pond. Yeah, right there. Marsh Lane,
really.
Marsh Lane.
Okay. So there is, it is big, so you say we're gonna put two conduit, one for the lights, one for Eversource. And.
Source actually requires like 20 conduits, but yes. And then one for the light, yes.
Yeah, the water. The main water is in there too.
And it's fine, so that we're not touching that. And Mike has promised not to hurt it.
We'll see. Good luck.
Right.
The copper dam, seems very interesting and I would look forward to seeing it. I'm just curious, the flows out of the two pipes that you're putting in, will the flows be the same that's currently there now, or do you expect it to increase? And if so, would it affect the marine field at all?
Are you talking about velocity or you talk?
Last
The velocity is gonna slightly increase because the culvert's a little smaller, so we've taken into account, there's some temporary measures to make sure that there's no erosion happening. Yep,
Someone who lives right on the Mill Pond and on Mill Pond Way. Don't hesitate to make it smaller because the way the water has been over the last 2 years. It's creeping up substantially. And we're noticing problems with that. So
yeah, unfortunately, we can't do that. We went through an exhaustive. That's the right word too. Exhaustive hydraulic study of all of North Mill Pond and Hudson Brook and the culvert and the river and everything else you could possibly factor in there to make sure that the liner wasn't gonna cause a problem for anybody. So, the DES is, because this is a stream crossing, there are a whole different set of rules. So, so that when we're done, the causeway culvert will convey the same amount of water and must, according to state rules.
But during construction, North Mill Pond should be lower if.
Just right. For a little bit,
During that, during that closure.
Right.
So that'll help you for in the short term, but,
Flooding.
yeah,
Is there any connection between this project and the commercial project that's going on Main, where it rains?
no, nada, nothing. This is entirely funded by the city of Portsmouth. You good? Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Great. Well, thanks for coming. We look forward to, oh, okay, one more thing. All right, all right. Like Columbo. Yeah.
Traffic again. So at some days, is the bridge will be completely closed both ways?
And that's gonna happen from the day they start to the day they reopen it, the bridge is gonna be closed. It's not gonna be closed, open.
It's not
Open, closed.
one side or-
No, no. But once we open the bridge, it'll be probably flaggers during the day when Mike's there. We'll have flaggers on either side. We'll let traffic through one lane at a time, like we do on Islington Street, not every other job.
Be open
Right.
on one land.
Yeah, once we kind of open it. So to be like that, yeah. Yeah. So this is an extensive project, but I think it's worth doing. I think, the end goal here is to kind of restore what we had and make it so that it's functional for the rest of our generation, anyway. But the sidewalks will be open to pedestrians. And if you want to walk your bike across, you can.
We have one.
Okay.
Just one quick comment. Can we try to get more aggressive to shuttle the traffic coming into town onto the entrance to Route 1 since they got to go over to Market anyway, as opposed to shuttling too many of them onto Dennett? Just shifting the signage up closer to Route 1?
Yeah, we will definitely work on making sure that traffic is getting off of the appropriate spots. We have message boards as part of the project. We understand your concerns and we will do our best to try to alleviate the traffic.
Yeah, because it would make sense to put them onto Route 1 immediately, because that's how they have to get to downtown anyway.
We have a way of updating Google Maps.
We actually do. Yeah, no, we do that all the time. Yeah. I have a guy that does that. Yeah.
I'm appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you very
Keeping this.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. Again, I have cards here if you wanna use them to hit with darts later on when you're sick of me. But, I'll either be here or I'll be on Islington Street. Either way, people will be hating me. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Buffett Street, no, Buffett.
No, that's somebody else.